So a lot about life is risky. Being an entrepreneur, right? Growing our business. There have been times, right, where we definitely have been on the teeter-totter of emotional imbalance because we took risk.
Andy, welcome back. Another episode of the Amazing Freedom Podcast. You are fresh back from the warehouse this morning. Came in. Andy actually forgot we were doing the podcast, so a little bit late here recording today. How was the warehouse this morning? What's new with you in the world of Amazon selling?
It's warehouse is actually really good. It's not real hot here. So, like typical warehouses, when it's warm out, then the warehouse gets a little hot and stuffy, almost feels like a sauna. But thankfully, today's the temperature is a little lower. So it was a good trip, good time being there. I actually had to go because a product that we currently sell, we're making an adjustment to it. And so we had to have the manufacturer send some parts that we now have to basically retrofit the units that we have in the warehouse, as well as they're producing more units there. And we wanted to make sure we get it right. So that's always a never ending process, right? Of iteration on your products. So that's what I was doing there today. But it's interesting, Nate, is I was in the warehouse today. I did, get a little reflective. Our warehouse now is 30,000 square plus feet. And I started to think back when you and I started selling on Amazon. I know that you were actually doing your work out of your parents' basement and out of your parents' garage. And I was thinking back to, I was actually doing all of my prepping and shipping out of a room of about 100 square feet. So those of you who know my story, I built my business to $160,000 I was selling a year. And I was doing all the prepping and packing out of this little, basically a closet. It was less than 100 square feet. And so as I was at the warehouse and I saw that 30,000 square feet, it definitely caused me to reflect back and think, man, we have actually come a long way, right, from our early days. And again, yesterday we were going through our financial projections of what we think we're going to end up at this year. And it's going to be close to a little over $11 million with our Amazon account as well as our Shopify account. And so, as an entrepreneur, I always think back to those early days about taking risk. And, a lot of people are risk adverse. But I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you want to grow something that's special. And I think kind of what we've grown right now to 11 million is pretty special. You really have to take risk. And a lot of people are risk averse. And, as we start the podcast, I just want to speak to you. If you're one of those persons, you got to realize that everything in life really is about risk. It's risky to get married. It's risky to have children. It's risky to invest. But I'll tell you, if you don't invest, you're going to get a bill for not investing that you're not going to like. So a lot about life is risky. Being an entrepreneur, right? Growing our business. There have been times, right, where we definitely have been on the teeter-totter of emotional imbalance because we took risk and sometimes we fail. But thankfully, being an overcomer is just part of that as well. Like being a good entrepreneur, you got to be an overcomer because you're going to hit those setbacks. And I'll say this, Nate, I'll hand it over to you. The riskiest part of life, I'll say this too, is this. Like, look, you're not going to get out of this life alive, right? Just the fact that you and I, are in life, you're not going to get out alive. And so my encouragement, if you're listening to this podcast, you definitely have to take risk. Push fear aside. If you're going to do something special, whether that's personal, whether that's business-wise, you're going to have to take a risk, right?
Yeah. And just thinking about that, I definitely have a little bit of a detachment from reality. I don't know how to say it exactly, but because I don't see the warehouse as often as you do, it definitely is different. I only get out there every 6 months or something, it seems like. And I see the progress when I go there, but day to day, I'm not. And so for me, and this might be a lot of people who sell on Amazon and maybe moved from like a basement or a garage, and then they moved to maybe like a 3PL setting at some point, or maybe just always used a 3PL and don't see your products on a regular basis. All I'm kind of seeing a lot of times are the Amazon numbers, and it's just the numbers that come across the phone app or the screen. And it's like, oh yeah, I did 40,000 yesterday. Like that's cool. But you kind of lose sometimes all of the individual units. I mean, a lot of days our units are hitting over 1,000 units sold for the day. Steve actually just showed a cool stat. Our year-to-date unit sales today, at the time of recording this, are almost exactly what our total unit sales were for 2021. So we've sold a lot more units so far this year, or the same number of year in the first 7.5 months is 12 months last year. So by the end of this year, we'll have sold a lot more. I mean, that's a lot of units that are flying through this machine that we've built. So it just kind of, as you're talking about that, I mean, you're working, I'm thinking back now too, when I first started, I was in the basement. I had to go up these steps that were like the winding steps, not just a straight path. Even it was, you had to go around the corner, and I was selling soap at one point for whatever reason, like these liquid Dawn soaps, and the boxes would, I'd peak them out at 48 pounds or whatever, just to get almost to 50. And I mean, it was just like a workout for me at the time, I guess. Thankfully, the UPS guy hated me though. I remember talking to my mom and be like, what are you shipping out all the time here? But just how inefficient that is, right? We talked to Paul and Jill Miller recently, and they were just talking about the little efficiencies that you can do in your business that really just change it. So yeah, as you think about that, I don't see it as much, but I did recently see a video of Steve from, I think it was early 2019, if I'm remembering correctly. And he was talking about like setting up some racking and moving something. And I look back and it's just so funny because it was like the one product we had there, and it was just this tiny little area of the warehouse, but it was impressive at the moment. But now you look at everything we have there, and a lot can change in just a few years. So definitely thankful for the power of the Amazon sales channel, because that's actually just a small glimpse of what we do even, right? Most of our sales go through the FBA system. And I mean, that's what we're really excited about. You and I are looking at getting into some arbitrage stuff here soon. And I know that's getting us excited on this different, but I know you talk a lot about that, just the power of, before we get into our $10 million challenge, just the power of how you started and what the Amazon machine has allowed you to do over the past couple of years.
Yeah. And I think as I was there looking around, I definitely reflecting back and thankful. But at the same time, what I'm most thankful about is how we continue to look forward. And our goal is, right, to hit $30 million. That's what we want to do with our brand. And so that is extremely exciting to me. And so as I was looking, I was reflecting back, but then I was also looking at the 30,000 square feet and thinking, how are we going to optimize this? Because we're going to grow 3 times greater. We're going to have to create systems and processes, and our business is going to look very different, right, at 30 million than it does at 10 million. And so, reflecting back, it was a little nostalgic, but then I started getting pumped about the meetings that we've had over the last few months and the push that we have to 30 million. And I'm excited today because I think we're going to share 4 or 5 things that we are putting into place, right, in order to hit that $30 million in sales. And what you just said is absolutely right. We're so bullish on the Amazon.com marketplace. All of our chips are pushed in. So we know a lot of other people that, are diversifying, a lot of other Amazon sellers. And I'm not saying that's a wrong thing, but all of our chips continue to be pushed in, that we're going to use Amazon to grow our brand, to get more, to do a better job at customer acquisition, to be able to hit that $33 million a year mark.
Yeah. And I think you're springing that. I don't even think we've talked about our $30 million goal yet on the podcast. We talk almost every week about our $10 million challenge that we set up. So if the $30 million goal sounds new, it's because it is kind of relatively new. We're big picture strategies, like kind of what recently I'm really trying to focus in on. And we have even a bigger picture goal than the 30 million, but I'm almost like a little bit embarrassed or shy to talk about it on the podcast, just because sometimes when you talk about something super ambitious, it sounds a little crazy, almost probably like you talk about all the time when you first went to start selling on Amazon, right? All your friends were like, sell on Amazon, like full time, you're crazy, right? It's almost like that when I think about maybe like a 10 to 15 year goal, but the 30 million goal is kind of our medium term, like 3 to 5 year goal. And what we've been talking about all year so far on the podcast has been our 1 year goal, right? In 2022, we want to hit $10 million on Amazon. And like Andy already talked about, we are on pace. We just had a meeting last night, a financial review of July, and projections are showing, knock on wood, that we can still hit that. So so I do want to recap the $10 million challenge. We started the year with that goal of hitting 10 million. We did 10 million last year as a company, but not on Amazon only. So that was the difference this year. We've never done 10 million in a single year on Amazon. That was our ambitious goal to start the year. We started the year and we had some immediate rough patches. We lost one of our top 5 ASINs within basically the first couple weeks of the year. And it just kept, like, due to a variety of issues, it just kept coming on and off. And we had all kinds of challenges with that. And that was a major blow to us. And if you go back and if you've seen our blog that details each month, we started the year kind of rough. And I think we just looked at it yesterday. I think it was January, February, and March. We hit under our forecasted goal for 3 months in a row to start the year. And so we were a little bit discouraged, I think, by March, but we had a turnaround in April, I believe it was. And from April through July, now we've exceeded our monthly goal by, I think, 5% or more every single month since then. So that's super exciting. And we're still only a little over halfway through the year, but we've done a really much better job now. Steve's come in. He's helped us a lot with this the last couple months, forecasting out the remainder of the year with, like, really detailed, accurate as they can be when it's still just an estimate forecast. And so it's looking like we can do the 10 million challenge. And I think that's why we've spent more time over the last couple of weeks really honing in, okay, what's next, right? I think that's probably our nature as entrepreneurs. Whenever a goal looks like it's in view, it's always like, okay, well, we can check that off the list. What's next? Like, it's probably a little bit of a lack of satisfaction with, whatever it is. It's, you can be grateful, but still not completely satisfied, I think, sometimes with what you're doing. And so we're looking at that 30 million goal. And so, I want to break down that. We've talked about it a lot. So Andy, just walk us through, like, when we talk about this 30 million goal now with our brand, that again is a little bit longer term. We're looking at a couple of years now from now. What is, we have 5 things here. What's kind of the number one thing that you're looking at when it is, when you think about, you just mentioned it, tripling the size of the business?
Yeah. So whether you are just starting out, right, you're going to hit this bottleneck in your business. The first one is you got to get the right people in the right seats. For many years, it was just Nate and I running our Amazon business, and we were doing everything. We hit a bottleneck, though. We knew that we couldn't go right any further because we were tapped out. And so one of the great things that you did early on is you begin to hire, and actually Abs is on here right now. Abs has been a tremendous team member, and I think has really expanded our vision. So we talk about you have to get the right people in the right seats. Abs came on and he was like, you guys, we could do 50 million. What are you talking about? We could do 100 million. And so we were like, all right, let's go. Right. And we've had a number of people like Abs now who are in the right seat doing the right thing. And it just energizes your company, energizes your vision. And it's like rocket fuel, helping you take off. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but it's just so difficult to take the steps of hiring people in that are going to take over what you've been doing. And, just looking back, Andy, when you started talking about how you were prepping out of your 100 square feet, small space. I mean, maybe just walk us through, like, what were your first decisions when you stopped prepping everything yourself? I know you used a 3PL with your first private label brand at one point. So, but I think you sent your first shipments to your house still, right? And I might be getting this wrong. Correct me. Like, what was the process? So when you first kind of gave up some of that control to send your products to a 3PL, because I know that's even scary for anybody starting off. Like when you first aren't doing all of the work, whether it's prepping, it's packing, it's handling the Amazon account. What was the 3PL experience like for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, business was growing so fast. Like I realized I didn't have the capacity to be able to prep everything myself. And if I wanted to grow more, add more ASINs, I was going to have to shift that somewhere else. So I think initially I hired part-time people. So part-time folks kind of came in. They were former students of mine and they would help me, but that wasn't enough either. And so I realized that in order to grow and scale, I was going to have to move that somewhere else. And then eventually, right, systematize it and figure out how I could send it either, direct into Amazon or direct to my warehouse where I just had to put a UPS label on it. And so that's how, there's a progression there. And so if folks are listening, you're just getting started. You've probably, maybe if you have another business, you've probably done that as well. I have a great friend, Nate. He runs a cheesesteak restaurant. So they make cheesesteaks. And so right now he's actually the one that's doing all the work, but his business is bursting at the seams. And so I keep telling him, look, Brian, you got to get somebody else that can come in here and cook, because your time and your ideas are more valuable than you cooking French fries, right? And flipping the meat for cheesesteaks. He has a lot of different business ideas. And so that's kind of like, as your business grows, you got to figure out, hey, where can you put your time and effort that's going to help you grow?
As a side note, Naval, I know you've watched some of Naval's or listened to his podcast. He has this framework where early on in his career, he set a hourly wage for himself that was like an aspirational hourly wage that at the time seemed crazy, but I think it was like $5,000 an hour was what he assigned the value of his time. But this was back when he was earning maybe less than 100 an hour, right? And he had some friends that were like, that's crazy. How dare you assign yourself that much value? But basically he made decisions going forward based on his time being valued at $5,000 an hour. So in the case of your friend, he might be like, this is going to take me an hour to make this food. Am I going to get $5,000 worth of value out of it? No, I need to find someone that can do it cheaper, right? Or I think in his example, he was like, I need to return this broken product to the store. It cost me $30. It's going to take me 30 minutes to return this. I'm just going to throw it in the trash. Like, it's not even worth returning because it's going to cost me $2,500, quote unquote, of my time. Right. So it's hard to think like that because there's this balance, of course, of making smart decisions. But I do think if you are ambitious and aggressive with your growth, that is a good framework in business when it comes to outsourcing. And last point on this, we made a major hiring decision in the last couple of months that we've talked about in the past on the show, to hire in a VP of operations, our good friend Steve. And he's come in and he's really taken a lot of responsibilities away from me, especially. And that has just been getting the right person in the right seat. And I think that's what's allowing us to even get past this 10 million to look to 30 million. Cause it's like, yeah, with this VP of ops and our next major, we need like a good finance role seat filled that we don't have right now. That's like something that we're looking at. And I'm hoping by the end of this year, we can get clarity on either find the right person or have some steps there. Once we do that, I think we're really going to have like the right marketer, the right operations, the right finance. So we're still not there. We still have to fill some of these seats to get to 30 million, but having Steve come in was huge. So yeah, number one on even being able to get to 30 million is getting the right people in the right seats. Hit number two, because I'm excited on kind of this framework, I guess, that we've set up for our business just recently.
Yeah. So, basically what we have done is, we've set out our goals to have 30 products that are doing at least $1 million a year in gross revenue. And we have a number of products right now that do $1 million or more. And we actually just launched one earlier in the year. It's a brand new product. This is the power of the Amazon.com marketplace. Brand new product. We identify the niche. We identify the opportunity, which again, that's something that entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs are able to take advantage of opportunities, right? And so we saw that, launch it, and it's going to do over $1 million in sales this year. And it's a brand new product. And so what we've done is we've created this framework. Okay, we're going to go after 30 products. They're going to do at least $1 million or more a year. And that's based on the proof of concept that we have right now. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's 6 or 7 products that do $1 million or more a year. And if we can hit that with 30, then that's when your business really gets that exponential growth.
Yeah. And if you've been following our $10 million challenge, and which, by the way, if you hear us keep talking about this and you want to get these updates, go to amazingfreedom.com and sign up to be an insider, and you'll just get an email every month that updates you on our progress of our $10 million challenge. But we had a part of that challenge. We want to create a new niche that does $1 million. What Andy's talking about right now is actually not that. It's a separate one that wasn't even really on our radar. We had this new niche that we wanted to hit $1 million. It's doing good, but it's a little bit underperforming where I was hoping it'd be right now, and it probably won't hit $1 million. But there was this other niche we launched this year, and it will do $1 million this year. So that's just funny, and that's why it sounds simplistic saying get 30 products to $1 million, and it's not going to work perfectly like that. But it's kind of like the law of averages. I believe if we set out to do this in 2 to 3 years, we could have 30 products. They won't all be exactly at $1 million revenue. It's like the 20/80 rule. I think some of them will be closer to 3 to 5 million, and some might be $500,000. But I believe it could average out to that 30 million based on these 30 niches, or some of them will be individual products, some will be kind of like product lines together. I believe that we can get to the 30 million. So just think in 30 million, is our goal. For you, it might be, $1 million, and you might think in your head, hey, I just need these 10 products that can do 100,000 a year, right? So I really like to break things back that way. For me personally, it helps if I want to have $1 million product that's selling for $100, how many units do I need to sell this year to get to $1 million, right? I personally, it helps me to break it out that way to see the progress. And so to get to our $30 million goal, breaking it into the number of niches, 30 of them to get there helps me. And I think you can take that and apply it to whatever your goal is. If it's $1 million, you can break that out to $500,000 a year products, right? Well, you can make it as simple as you want, but breaking out that way helps me.
And I just want to share something personally. I think that you and I went through. We had some products that did phenomenal. 2019, 2020, multi-million-dollar products. However, and it was very and they were extremely profitable. And so there were opportunities to kind of build out these products, right? And build out these niches. However, you and I at one point, and it was tempting, we were starting to do that, but then we kind of forecasted, and this is what I think you got to do, right? As a good business person. And we looked ahead and we just kind of had a prediction. Hey, you know what? We think that these products may slow down in sales in 2021. And therefore we said, look, do we want to put our energy or time and capital into building out this niche that we think may see a slowdown in 2021? Or do we want to venture out into some of these other niches that we haven't done yet, but that we think might have evergreen potential? In other words, that they're not going to slow down in 2022, 2023. They're evergreen, so they can keep going all the way to 2050. And we made that decision, Nate, if you remember, to go into these other niches and to really just kind of let this other niche just ride it out, basically ride the wave. But we made very purposeful decision to go into these other niches. And looking back at that, I think that was the right decision. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it's maybe hard listening to conceptualize without knowing, but I think the principle here would just be you can't kind of sit back and rest on your past success. You have to always be looking a little bit forward ahead, and in the case of Amazon, launching new products, finding new products. So for us, I think it ties into this point number 2 of getting to $31 million product lines is just, we're not going to say, hey, our current ones are good and we don't need any more. I think it's going to take new products that are going to keep launching in order to get us to this goal. And hopefully the products that we're already selling will continue to grow. But even if they decline a little bit, if we do all this work to get 30 new, or now 20 new, whatever it is, $1 million niches, I think no matter what happens to the current products over the next couple of years, because we're down on some things like you just said, but then some products we just launched last year are making up this last month like 30 to 40% of our new sales for the past month come from this new line that we just launched last year. So that's why we are like, we got to just keep launching new products. And I feel like most successful Amazon sellers right now are just in that mode of always finding new products to launch and to build out. So yeah, that's number 1, find the right people in the right seats. Number 2, for us, it's getting $31 million products, or, working back our goal into what it's going to take product wise. And then number 3, this is something we've done good sometimes and poorly other times. And that's just to look at the goal and then wash, rinse, and repeat, right? So maybe break down what that means for you, Andy.
Yeah. So there's a phrase, some folks they work on their business. Other folks work in their business. And if you work in your business a lot, that can actually be a detriment, because that means you're not doing a lot of the high level thinking and building the systems and the processes that are needed in order to scale. So this is all about scaling. And I think that you have been a master at it. And now we're recognizing in order to go to 15, 20, 30 million in sales, that we've got to really create those systems and processes where we can wash, rinse, and repeat. So if you think of McDonald's again, if you've ever watched that movie about Ray Kroc, what he did and why McDonald's blew up is he systemized the process of making awesome cheeseburgers. So just before the podcast here, I stopped at McDonald's real quick and I had a double cheeseburger. And I can tell you, I've had them in China, I've had them in Europe, and I've had them in America. And guess what? Those double cheeseburgers all pretty much taste the same no matter where you do it. And that's because he built that system right in that process. And then he was able to wash, rinse, and repeat it. And that was the real success of McDonald's. And I think that's what we're trying to do with our business, right?
Yeah, and it's been a real challenge. I think we've done it well sometimes, but other times I feel like every 6 to 12 months, we're kind of redoing work that we've already worked on. So the goal here is, hey, this is what's worked to get to 10 million. We just got to figure out how to not repeat the work every time and create the system that allows it to go so that we can just focus on getting more of those $1 million product lines in. But yeah, super important. Number 4, and this is something we've talked about a lot this year, and it's just, I don't think we can emphasize it enough. And that's to build a massive off Amazon social and community presence. And so I think if you are building a brand in 2022, 2023 to sell on Amazon, you really need to be looking at how do I create an audience off Amazon through primarily social is typically the way you're going to do it. That's going to allow me to acquire customers, not purely just from ads, but build like a real brand. And so, I mean, this is obvious. And you talk about some of the brands that you follow that just do this so well. But I know this is for us, what we feel like is going to be kind of the next phase. So I don't know, what have you seen, I guess, that we've been doing that you feel like is important here? And what do you think's next?
Yeah, I mean, so again, going back to the very first point, you get the right people in the right seat. And so you heard me mention earlier was Abs. He is our chief marketing officer. He's done a phenomenal job building out a team that's really been able to reach out to a lot of these influencers, be able to get our products in their hands, being able to build out, I think just amazing job they've done in building out our Instagram, multiple Instagrams now, but doing a really good job at building out a community on Facebook. And because of that, now we have a community that we can go to when we launch new products, right? We have a community that we can bounce questions off of and get feedback from when we want to create new iterations of our product. I think that has been huge for us, Nate, as we've been bringing better products to the market solely based on the feedback of our users. And then the third piece to that, which I think is paramount, and if, again, you're listening to this and you have your own brand, we've been able to get some phenomenal user-generated content from all of these social networks and social relationships that our team has been able to build. And man, some of them are professional. They get better video than if you went to a studio and paid them tens of thousands of dollars, because that's what some of these folks, that's just what they love doing. And so they have phenomenal equipment and they're really good at getting great shots. I think about the video that Abs just sent us this past week. We had a video of our product and it had multi-million views right on Instagram. Like that kind of advertising, Nate, we could never afford to pay for that. But somehow this product got in this influencer's hand and she was able to display it. And because of that, we get the benefit. And I think our sales spiked right after a few of those videos went. So that's the power of building out a social and community presence.
Yeah, we sold out in like 2 days because our sales went from like 10 a day to 300 one of the days. So that's the good and the bad of going viral. Sometimes is you can't, forecast going viral always, but it's great, right? And it'll have long-term effects to it for a long time, I believe. And this was this is something I've just been throwing around, so it's kind of random, but we have done a really good job creating a team that can basically systematize almost any niche, I feel like, and create an audience around it. So like you mentioned, we have multiple socials we're doing this on. If there is anybody listening, this isn't something we're officially doing, but yeah, if anybody's listening to this and you want to reach out, you can email support@amazingfreedom.com. If you want help creating a social presence off Amazon, we basically have a formula where I feel like we can get most people 10,000 Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, short type followers. So if that's something you're interested in, again, we don't have like an official thing, but just reach out. And if we get enough interest from a couple people, maybe we will have our team look at helping people create the off Amazon presence. And then from there, you have an audience, you have a new product, you launch it to that product. You have people that you can ask for, feedback of your products from. There's just all kinds of things you can do in launching and building it. So yeah, if that's you, reach out to us through email. Just say, hey, I have a brand looking to build a social presence. We'll see if that's something over the next couple months we would offer to people. So number 4 is building that massive social community presence, or just putting massive effort into it, really. And lastly, here in our growth plan of getting to 30 million, we're looking at just getting help and connecting more than ever with our Amazon community. Andy, I mean, you've been talking about the community for almost 10 years now. So just break down. I mean, we just launched Tribe 8 recently. That was super cool to see. What do you see like for us personally? We try to help people with our podcast and our show, talk about stuff, but we also get a ton of value from friends and other sellers. So maybe just talk about how that's going to help us get to 30 million.
Yeah, so if you've heard us before, we talk about the Amazon Seller Tribe. If you're just starting on Amazon, you're interested in selling on Amazon, you absolutely need to join the Amazon Seller Tribe. There is no better coaching and training group in the Amazon seller space, in the Amazon Seller Tribe. Go to AMZProfessional.com, sign up to become a tribe member. We launch our coaching 2 times a year. We recently just launched it. We call it Tribe 8. And we had our first session, Nate, and it was on Wednesday. And, we talked about returns. Returns is a huge deal. So in retail, it's a big deal. They got to figure out what to do with them. On Amazon, right, it's a big deal. You got to figure out what to do. We average about 4 or 5% in returns. And so we have systems and things that we do to try to get back some of that money, right? If it's already been open, we can't do anything with it. So phenomenal webinar, just the sharing that takes place of best practices. And, you and I would say this again, our entire Amazon seller career, our network has been huge in helping us understand new ideas and new strategies, because at the end of the day, every one of us are coming up against similar problems. And if you don't have a network that you can share those problems with, oftentimes you become myopic in your thinking and you kind of get this tunnel vision when there are a lot of different ways, right, to handle problems, a lot of different solutions to those problems. And it's a lot better if you can put our heads together. And so like on this webinar, we had 12 different coaches, all close to $1 million or more sellers, some 3 or 4 million. And they were sharing their best practices on returns. And here I am, a $10 million seller on Amazon. And I was feverishly taking notes, right, from these $1 million sellers because they were thinking outside the box. And so that's what happens, right, when you're in a good community that doesn't just complain. So I know there are a lot of communities out there, right, where if you go to Amazon forums, it's just all about complaining, basically about Amazon. I don't want to be about that business. I want to be about the solution and the problem solving business. And that's what the Amazon Seller Tribe is.
Yeah, and I have to give a shout out to the Tribe Coaching Gary system. I saw a comment recently. Someone asked, someone said they didn't want to join Tribe 8 because they hadn't been in the previous 7, so they thought it was like the 8th part. And it's almost like a TV series where the 8th season and you needed to be in watch the first 7. It's not like that. It's just the 8th round. But there's actually this a comment from Charles. He just posted this in the Tribe yesterday. He said, I've been in the Tribe coaching for just a day and a half and watched the first 5 videos in the core library. hosted by Gary, and my mind is completely blown. I've been selling on Amazon for a long time, very casually. And the repricing lesson was 10 out of 10. He never had a clue on PPC. This stuff is amazing. Gary said, watch the first 5. I did, and I'm loving it. So my point is, there's a library with all of the videos you can watch through. And so it's basically like a course and a coaching rolled into one. You can be a brand new seller, you join it, and it makes complete sense to you. And then if you're the experienced seller, there's the return lesson, like you just talked about, Andy, or there's future webinars. This whole Tribe 8 is about Q4. So the cool thing is next year, if you joined, if there's a Tribe 9 and you joined, you could still see the Q4 videos that would then help you for Q4 2023, right? So it all just compounds on each other. You don't need to be, you don't need to be through the first ones to get value from the existing rounds. Gary's laid it all out perfectly. He's been helping coach and train people for 35, 40 years or something. So he knows how to do this, and it's like not something that you can miss or be behind on now.
Nate, let me take this last one, folks. You probably heard us talk about Amazon Professional before. I just want to tell you again, if you've listened to the podcast up to this point, you're an Amazon seller, you sell, I would say probably like 200,000 or more a year. You need to sign up for AMZProfessional.com. We work with over 200 Amazon sellers. It is a professional team, a team that we have personally trained. We meet with this team once a week. They get back tens of thousands of dollars from different Amazon sellers and different Amazon accounts every single week. In our account, who our team works on, we average 2%. So you can figure whatever your sales are monthly, Amazon Professional team and generally is going to get back 2%, right, of fees that you're never going to see if you don't open up these cases. So again, it's AMZProfessional.com for now.
AMZProfessional.
I'm sorry, AMZProfessional.com. I get a little excited when I start talking about AMZ Professional because it's amazing work and it is dollars in your bank account that so many of these sellers, Nate, would never see had our team not been working on their account, correct?
Yeah, I just got it. I get a weekly update every week of our personal brand. The last one just came through, $81,450.30 lifetime reimbursements, right? So that is reimbursements just from AMZ Professional, right? So you get reimbursements from Amazon maybe every day, but the team just in the last while that they've been working on this brand has gotten over $80,000 back. And I mean, that's like entire $1 million future niches. You can look at it that way of products.
And there's a limitation of time that Amazon now puts on it, right?
Yeah, and it's pretty short. So the biggest pain, so your normal reimbursements, you have 18 months, but the biggest pain lately has been the FBA shipments. I'm sure all sellers are like, yeah, it's a pain. You need the invoices. So if you work with AMZProfessional.com, we still help with your with those. You still need to provide the invoices, but we just make it systematized. We deal with the back and forth the cases. We let you know exactly which ones need it. You get an email that say, hey, you need these invoices for these shipments. You get that every week. So you never have to be like worrying about checking it. You just get that one email weekly that says, hey, here's the shipments that you need invoices to provide to the team. Then they do all the work after that and let you know when Amazon's being annoying or difficult about denying invoices. That happens too. But the whole thing's a pain, but AMZ Professional makes it way easier. And that's basically the bottom line goal of it. All right. Well, hopefully these 5 ways that we're going to attempt to get to our $30 million goal help you. You can take something away from there. And whether your goal is getting that first sale on Amazon, getting to $1 million or getting to 100 million, I think these principles are going to be something we're going to keep working on to try to get there.